Welcome back to a very special Economics. With me today, Professor Barry Eichengreen, Professor of Economics and Political Science at the University of California at Berkeley. He is both an India expert as well as a US and global international currencies expert. So, Professor Barry Eichengreen, thank you very much for your patience, for staying on. Let me come to India. You just wrote an excellent paper with Poonam Gupta of NCAER on Indian federal finance. Our third quarter GDP has shown a decent recovery. How may 2025 pan out for India amid the global headwinds?
India still depends heavily on the global economy. It's not as open to trade as China or Europe, but its fate still turns on the health of the global economy. And we have new reasons, both in the United States and now in Europe, because of the mess around Ukraine, to worry about growth in the advanced economies. And if the advanced economies stop growing, that will be a negative, no doubt, for India.
Okay. Well, sir, time permitting, I'll come back to India. But how does the new global political economy order look like to you? America was, for the last 75 years, the global policeman, seemingly supporting democracies. But now America and Russia are on one side and democratic Europe is on the other side. So how does the global economic order look to you?
Well, in terms of Ukraine first, and possibly the Middle East second, Europe is going to have to step up because the US is either disengaged or no longer a constructive force. Militarily, Europe has the problem that it still relies on US intelligence, air cover, military parts, and the like. So it will need some U.S. cooperation. And there are questions even there about what will happen. Trump's latest announcement is that he is pausing all aid to Ukraine.
Yes. By
implication, he will not be providing to the European countries the support they need to aid Ukraine. So I think this is very worrisome. In the longer run, there is that famous phrase uttered by Jean Monnet, the father of the European Union: Europe is forged in crises. Whenever a crisis happens, Europe steps up and deepens its collective will and resolve. We will see whether that will happen now. It can't happen in a few months, but it certainly can happen in a few years.
Well, fair point, sir. These are dynamic situations and dynamic reactions from countries. But nevertheless, I would like your view on what kind of a new international order are we staring at? It will definitely be different from the post-World War order that we are used to, first bipolar, then unipolar. But just tell us, how will the global economy and global political economy look like?
I think we are entering a new world order for the next 46 months.
Okay.
At least. That's the length of time before we have another president in the U.S.
Okay, I like that, next 48 months. Well, so the financial markets have been seeing the U.S. As an exceptional country, U.S. exceptionalism, as we call it, and funds were fleeing from emerging markets like India and going to the U.S. This also meant a strengthening of the dollar. Now, do you think, has U.S. exceptionalism ended?
If you had asked me 6 weeks ago on Mr. Trump's inauguration day, I would have said U.S. exceptionalism is intact and the dollar's safe haven status is intact. John Maynard Keynes famously said, "When the facts change, I change my mind." What do you do, young man? And the facts have changed. I think this is the first real threat to the dollar's status as a safe haven that investors and central bank reserve managers are reassessing meaningfully for the first time in my lifetime, so that what has been a strong dollar will not necessarily remain a strong dollar.
Well, I'm glad you brought the conversation to international currencies and the dollar, because Trump's other announcement is a strategic reserve of cryptocurrencies. Now, how do you expect this reserve of cryptocurrencies to impact financial markets and indeed the dollar?
Well, Mr. Trump understands one thing about cryptocurrencies, which is that crypto companies and entrepreneurs have contributed a lot to his campaign and to his pocketbook, to him personally. But he doesn't understand, so far as can be told, the economic and financial potential, the upsides or the downsides of cryptocurrencies. So all this talk about a crypto reserve and the crypto summit in the White House this coming Friday, it's just talk, what Mr. Trump would call good television. Um, I do not think that cryptocurrencies are valuable as a means of payment, as a financial vehicle, except for tax evaders, money launderers, people engaged in terrorist finance and other nefarious activities. Plain vanilla cryptos like Bitcoin or Melania coin are
Okay.
too volatile to be a store of value or to be useful as a means of payment. Stable coins are not stable because they're not fully collateralized more often than not. Central bank digital currencies are not going to happen in the United States because the crypto industry sees a Fed coin as competition, and they're going to be lobbying furiously and effectively the White House not to permit the Fed to go down that road. So I don't think crypto will support the dollar. Only a central bank digital currency issued by the Fed has that potential. And given the politics, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, but they may nevertheless disrupt the financial system. But separately, do you think the dollar will start weakening now, given the problems of the US economy?
I think the dollar will weaken. The now part, you said, will now begin to weaken. That's a little bit above my pay grade and a little bit above everybody's pay grade. We can only guess at these turning points, but I think more inflation, weaker economic growth, all this chaos around crypto and the possibility that financial deregulation in the US will cause more financial problems in the US. All of those factors combined will make for a weaker dollar over time.
Oh, yes, chaos ahead. To sum up, how would you have us understand how the US and the global economy will pan out in 2025? Just what should we be prepared for?
It's hard for Americans to be optimistic about the economy or anything else under current circumstances. So I do think that 2025 will be a year of accelerating inflation and declining economic growth in the United States, a dilemma for the Fed and difficult times for the people. If Europe begins to spend more on defense and relax its very strict fiscal rules, that may be something of an offset. But, you know, the old statement about if the US sneezes, the world catches cold, that's true economically, and it's still true. So could be a tough year for the world economy as well.
Oh, yes, indeed. The impact is transferred to us through real economy channels, financial channels, confidence channels. Okay, last two questions, sir. How will India pan out, you think? While it's true that we are connected, it has a large domestic facing component. Will we be able to get away with fewer bruises to our growth?
India will be lucky with growth between 6 and 7%. I think that is achievable or conceivable unless the US really goes into the tank economically. Services are less likely to be hit by trade restrictions than merchandise. So India has some factors working in its favor.
Okay. Well, finally, sir, we have to worry about China as well because financial markets have now started investing in China. There is a buy China trend. Do you think China has bottomed out?
I think China has probably bottomed out, but it will continue to bounce along the bottom. In other words, there will be no sharp pickup in growth until China deals with its financial systems problems in the banking system, in the real estate sector, in the corporate sector. So China can grow at 4%, which is my best guess of how fast it really grew in 2024, but it will be hard for it to do better.
Well, Professor Eichengreen, out of time, thank you very much indeed for giving us a 360-degree perspective of the global economy, of the US economy in particular, and India as well. We like your 6 to 7% hope about the Indian economy. I think we should be able to deliver, but clearly very severe global headwinds ahead. Thank you very much for joining us.